Hi everybody, today I'm going to talk to you about tennis elbow, what it is and how you can help make it better. Alright, tennis elbow is actually fairly complex. It is not as simple as most people think, and I'm learning more and more about it all the time to help people that are dealing with this problem, because it's very common even in people that aren't tennis players. People that never play tennis a day in their life will still get pain in this part of their forearm and their elbow. So it's not just about playing tennis, it's about how you're using your body and how your body is failing to deal with that load, that stress in an adequate way. So let's look at what is the first thing people do when they get tennis elbow. Usually they'll go to a doctor, or they'll just get on Google and go to a WebMD maybe and try to figure out what it is. And most of the advice you'll get is to stretch the muscles on the front, to rest it, stop doing the offending activity, take some ibuprofen. And that can work, in some cases if it's an acute issue. But if it's not, if it's a chronic issue that's ongoing, you have to look deeper into what you're doing day to day in your movements and your activities that is causing this problem in the first place. And what I invite you to do is look above and below the offending joint, the elbow. It's usually not really the elbow itself. That's not where the problem is. That's where you feel the pain, but it's usually because of something that's going on in the wrist or something that's going on in the shoulder that is affecting that joint, making it move in a way that it shouldn't. So when you're looking at the shoulder, let's look there first. We want to look at the posture, because if our shoulders are forward, if we're carrying ourselves in a bad position like this, or the shoulders forward and internally rotated like this, that's going to put unnatural strain on our body and affect the motions we do with our shoulder, which travels downstream, especially overhead motions like serving. We're not going to have a normal motion when we do that if we're in a bad position, and that will affect the load transferred down through the arm because the shoulder is not doing what it's supposed to. Same thing with the forearm and the wrist. If the forearm muscles aren't balanced correctly, then things are going to get out of whack and then start pulling on the elbow. We can overuse one muscle group at the expense of the other, and then that causes the pain and inflammation that we get. So the first thing we're going to look at in this video is stretching exercises to help correct a couple of these issues that I've talked about and get us back into a more neutral position so that we're at a good starting point in our foundation. Alright, so this first stretch that I want to talk about is going to be a pec stretch for the pec major. And this is how you're going to do it. You're going to set up into the corner of a wall or a doorway, something like that, where you can hold your elbow back to the side. Your elbow's flexed at the height of your shoulder, and you're rotating the hand back away from the wall. So we're externally rotating the shoulder, and then you're going to turn your upper body away from that arm and press it forward, getting into that upper chest, front of the shoulder region. Should feel like a very good deep stretch there, and you want to make sure you hold this for at least 30 seconds and do this on both sides so that you get both shoulders back. This will help really set the shoulders back into more of a neutral position. Now when you do the pec minor, which is another very tight muscle on the front of the body, it's attaches right here, you want to make sure that you do this against a wall to help you get the right position. So again, you're going to use a door, or you really need a doorway for this, or some kind of pole to hold the shoulder back. Pin the shoulder back, keep the shoulders pinched together behind you, and then taking the arm to the side, thumb pointing back so we're externally rotated, and then reaching all the way up overhead as high as you can, and then coming back, keeping the forearm vertical and reaching back behind you. And you should feel a nice stretch there through the shoulder as you do that. That's another important muscle to stretch, because you're going to get that downward rotation of the shoulder that happens with the pec minor being tight. You're going to release some of that. So the next stretch, we want to look at the forearm flexors. This is a common stretch that can be prescribed when you have elbow tendonitis. if the forearm flexors have been deemed to be overactive. So when you're coming into the forearm extension stretch, also try to pull your fingers to the side, to the inside of your body, so that we're turning the thumb out and down in that corkscrew pattern. And that is going to also twist the forearm and stretch the muscles that are usually tight if you're over pronating on your forearm. Okay, so now that we've talked about some of the stretching exercises for some of the very common tight muscles that could be contributing to your elbow tendonitis, now we're going to talk about the strengthening exercises that can also help with this issue. All right, so this first exercise is called a pull apart with supination. So we're trying to supinate to help strengthen those muscles in the forearm, but it's also going to turn the shoulder out. And that is a good position to be in for correct posture, balancing the shoulder muscles so that we're strengthening the back of the rotator cuff and just carry ourselves in a better neutral position. So when you grab the band, grab it palms down, thumbs facing in, rotating the hands out and back as you pull the hands back to the side, keeping the elbows fairly straight. When you come to the back position, focus on squeezing the shoulder blades back and together, and make sure you do quality reps here. Don't worry about doing a lot of repetitions. Just make them good quality without rounding the back, letting the head jut forward, arching the low back. These are all things to watch out for. Make sure you stay in a nice, tall, neutral position. All right, the next exercise we want to do is look at the wrist roller. Now, this is one I've often recommended to people for tennis elbow, and in some cases this is not going to be the cure-all. So you have to look at, does this help me? Does this make it worse? In some cases it might. So this is a specific example that could make your make this exercise be less effective for you. So if on your serving motion, when you're coming up, if your forearm flexors, these muscles right here are not strong enough, then on your serve, you're going to extend your wrist using the muscles on the back here to help preload this stretch, so that when you're coming down and you're doing that final pronation and turning the wrist over and flexing the wrist down to get that snap on your serve, then you're going to overuse these to help preload. So that muscle might be getting irritated from doing that action if the muscles on the front aren't strong enough. So in that case, doing this exercise might actually make it worse. But in that case, instead of doing wrist extension, you need to do wrist curls or things like a bar hang, which we're going to talk about, to help strengthen the forearm flexors. But in other cases, you might have weak and underdeveloped forearm extensors. It is very common because we don't really do any direct work for those muscles. So doing this exercise can really help to build them up. So do this exercise and see how your body responds. Just try it, see what your body tells you, see how it feels. Do it for a couple weeks and see if there's any improvement or not. If things seem to get worse, then scrap it from your routine, and then you know that you need to focus on the opposite thing, which is the forearm flexors. So when you do this exercise, you're going to roll the handle back and forth using these forearm extensors. When you're doing this, you got to make sure the rope or the cord is wrapping up on the outside away from you of the handle. If it's towards you on the inside, you're going to be working the flexors. So if you do this exercise and it's bothering you after a couple weeks, I don't mean that it's uncomfortable, it's going to burn. If this exercise makes your pain worse after a couple weeks, then you need to scrap it and work on the flexors. So then you can do this exercise with the cord wrapping up on the inside towards you around the roller. And okay, the next exercise. This is another good option for you if you have to strengthen the flexors. Good general exercise overall anyway, because you're also going to strengthen up the shoulder muscles, stretching the shoulders as well into the back for the lats. All kinds of good things happen when you hang, as long as your body can tolerate it. So start by grabbing an overhead bar. It helps if you can start with your feet touching the floor when you're hanging. So if the bar you're using is too high, you can always bring in a box or something stable to stand on so you can reach it, and then slowly lower yourself towards the floor, stretching out the arms and transferring weight into your arms. And then once you're able to do that without too much problem, then you can bring the feet up and transfer all of your body weight into your arms and hold that for a few seconds. Maybe you're only able to do that for a few seconds in the beginning, that's fine. Over time, we're building up your tolerance to that and increasing the duration as you get stronger. Okay, the last exercise is called a Cuban press. This one is really good for building up the back of the shoulder. It's also a great mobility drill and a warm-up drill. But the point of this exercise is really on the way down. So we're going to start elbows out to the side, rotating back, pressing up overhead, coming down, and then right here when you rotate down, that is where you're going to work on deceleration of internal rotation, which is exactly what happens on a serving motion. You're using the rotator cuff muscles, the back of the shoulder, to control that deceleration. Now on a serve, granted, it happens a lot faster, but here we're doing more repetitions in a more controlled manner with possibly a heavier weight so that we can really strengthen up those muscles for the purpose of decelerating that arm as we rotate down. So I want to leave you guys with one final thought. There's not any one way to deal with your pain. There's no quick solutions, unfortunately, for these type of issues. It's really about learning your body, getting to know yourself and how your body responds to different activities, different exercises, because we are all different, and that takes time. And I want to help as many people as I can. I want to be their guide. So I want you to always be looking to expand your knowledge base, expand your understanding of your body and how it works so that you can take care of yourself for the rest of your life. And that's really the goal, and I just want to help people do that. So this is a starting point, and if you need more information on tennis elbow, how you can correct it, what you can do in your unique situation, I'm always happy to help. So email me at jared@giammalva.com. Visit our website, visit our Facebook page. You can contact us through that. And I would also like to ask that you please like and share this video to help spread our message so that more people can see it if you find this information helpful. So that's it for today. Thank you very much, everyone, and I'll see you on the next video.